and welcome to the Martial Perspective. We got a special episode today. When we train martial arts, especially in our schools, we consider our fellow martial artists and our students our family. And today couldn't be more true of that fact, because today I have with me Grandmaster Charles Murzda. Grandmaster Murzda is actually really part of my family. He married my cousin when I was very, very young, and I've known Grandmaster Murzda most of my life. Grandmaster Murzda owns Grandmaster Chun Taekwondo, located at 2375 Back Orville Road in Worcester, Ohio. Nice to have you with us today, sir.
Well, thank you for having me.
So
nice to be here.
So, how long have you been practicing martial arts, sir?
48. I'm on my 49th year.
49th, almost 50, almost half a century. That's
actually, my 50th starts in November.
Wow, 50 years in martial arts. That's incredible. So you are a recent inductee of the World Taekwondo Hall of Fame under Grandmaster Gerald Robbins, correct?
Right.
So
the Cleveland Martial Arts Hall of Fame, the Bruce Lee Hall of Honors Hall of Fame, the C.S. Kim Hall of Fame, the Legacy Martial Arts Hall of Fame for Grandmasters, and then also now I'm a member of the League of Grandmasters. Wow,
that's incredible to be honored by that many people. It must mean that you're doing something right?
I hope.
So you grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, is that correct, sir?
Yes, I did.
So for our viewers that don't know, Youngstown, Ohio is actually considered the Rust Belt. Youngstown, Ohio is actually famous for boxing. So they call it the fighting city. It's a area that's known for people working in steel mills, metal manufacturing companies, and car manufacturing. So it's a very gritty city, and growing up in a gritty city, you got to know how to fight, obviously. So can you tell us what it was like what got you into martial arts, sir?
Well, I was a wimp, an absolutely wimp. I was literally, the day I started, I was a 98-pound weakling that you see in the back of comic books from years ago where they kick dirt in their face and make fun of them.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I couldn't fight worth anything, and I was growing up in a tough town, and I was very smart, okay, very book smart,
yes, sir.
Street smart, but I didn't like to be picked on all the time, and I was picked on constantly, mostly for my height, ethnicity, how I held myself, like I acted like I felt like I was better than I was, and I don't think so. I just think that I try to treat people good, but some people don't like, your perception of what is good and what is bad, what is fair, okay?
Right.
And so, I wound up having to take martial arts for self-defense purposes,
So how did you get introduced into martial arts? Actually, it was a very young age.
Honestly, I started when I was 15, but I wanted to do it most of my life after watching the TV series Kung Fu. And I loved it. I loved the mysticism of it. I loved the fact that this almost skinny guy was just beating up people in the Wild West. And I said, I want to one day be able to do that. And I told my parents at an early age that I wanted to do that. My dad wanted to teach me boxing when I was 5 years old, and I'm not going to tell you the whole story of that, but that didn't work out real well, And I swore off boxing simply because I didn't like to be knocked out, okay? And let's just say it was a one-punch wonder with your father teaching you how to fight. And I told him quite frankly, I said, I didn't need a lesson in how a 44-year-old man can knock out a 5-year-old. So I kind of knew that, Dad. So I swore off boxing. And when I saw Kung Fu, and then I saw later on Enter the Dragon and things like that with Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris's movies, I wanted to be involved in martial arts. But my mother told me I had a terrible temper because I was frustrated from being bullied every single day from age 5 to long after I started martial arts. Okay.
So times change, but people don't, because obviously bullying is still a very big thing in schools today and in children today. You know, it gets to the point where children are bullied to the point now they have a different avenue of bullying. They can do it right from their phones or their computers, and you never know who's actually bullying you. And I've read on the internet, and I read in the news that, you know, it can get so bad where children, you know, commit self-harm and the suicide, where, you know, I can't say that on YouTube, but yeah, it gets bad. And, you know, that's never changed. And
No, it hasn't.
I think martial arts gives us an avenue to take out frustrations and learn to adapt and learn to defend yourself.
As far as the bullies online and stuff, I've always been a firm believer in telling everybody, just check out, log off.
Absolutely.
You know, go read a good book. Go run around the block, climb a tree, you know, fly a kite, do something. Anything else than listen to how people B-rate you or C-rate you or D-rate you because they don't like you.
Absolutely, but in today's society, kids don't know how to do that. You know, I've got 2 children, and, you know, they grew up a little bit different than I did. I was outside playing.
Well, whose fault is that?
I know.
I mean, as parents, we try to protect our kids.
Right.
And to be honest, if you don't expose them to minor dangers like falling off a tree limb, they don't know how to handle themselves when something happens in an accident.
Right.
They freak out. And so I'm not saying push your kids off a tree limb. Okay, climb that tree. Oh, there you go, Tommy. How's it feel, Tommy? Feel good now? Don't worry, your teeth will grow back. That's why we do this when you're young, because adult teeth fall out, you can't replace them, you know? No, it's not like that at all. I said, I think that we want to keep our children safe, but we want to expose them a little bit of danger. Let them learn how to deal with something.
So so as a young man, you walked into a YMCA in Youngstown, Ohio. No? Okay.
No, I walked into Grandmaster Chun Taekwondo on Market Street in Youngstown because the YMCA was the original studio where Grandmaster Chun taught all the time. By that time, he was teaching quarterly in Youngstown, and like you said, 1 quarter in Youngstown, then another quarter in Cleveland, and then come back for another quarter in Youngstown and another quarter in Cleveland, where he had his school at that time. And then he went down to like once a week, and then on to mostly in Cleveland, and Grandmaster Sam Naples
Yes, sir.
Took over teaching primarily in the Youngstown area.
Yes, sir. So when you walked into Grandmaster Chun's dojang, for you folks that don't know what a dojang is, it's the same thing as a dojo. It's a gym. It's a place where you go train. It's a school. So when you walked into the dojang, what was your first impression of Grandmaster Chun?
He was very quiet and reserved, and you got the very big impression that this was the man in charge. Okay, and he ran class. My first class, we had 27 people in class, lined us all up against the wall.
Yes, sir.
And everybody counted 10 front kicks. Okay, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 270 front kicks, right? Then we go backwards, and the people would count on the left side, 270 more. We learned 10 kicks that day, so that's 2,700 kicks on each side.
Wow.
Which comes out to 5,400 kicks on your first day at class. That was warm up. And then we had 45 minutes of class afterwards.
Yes, sir.
When we learned self-defense, and we learned hand techniques, and we learned the combination kicks, and all those things that beginners learn in our school. So it was way different than now. Most people, if you had to do 5,400 kicks on your first day, I'm out of here.
Right, and in order to keep the doors open, you got to keep the students happy, and I understand that.
Yeah, the shame is back then we had, Grandmaster Chun had 500 students, all of them good, between the two schools.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and there was a different mentality then. When, like, steelworkers have the mentality, we work hard, we work the best we can, we're going to get a raise, okay? And I know that I like to still tell everybody that should be your mentality. Always do your best, and you'll be recognized. If you're not, force the issue, okay? Why isn't this happening, okay? I I'm 3 times as fast as Steve over there, and I'm not saying him in particular, but just using it as an example. Why am I being paid less?
Right.
You know, I mean, you learn to find your voice through martial arts.
Correct.
Okay, but we had a work ethic that was different. Now everybody says, well, I can do this much on a computer, I don't need you. I can have a robot do it, I don't need you. Okay. Why do people have a reason to have a real work ethic?
That's a
And
good
they
question.
should have a reason. It should be ingrained in their DNA that you do, whatever you do the best at it that you possibly can, because it's the only way to success.
Absolutely.
Being mediocre leads you to mediocre scores. And what's a mediocre score? 50% of the time, I'm good. 50% of the time, it's a rough life.
Right. And I subscribe to the school that work hard now to make it a little easier later.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
What was the biggest obstacle you faced personally in your martial arts training? It could be mental, it could be physical, it could be financial, it could be anything. What's the biggest obstacle that Grandmaster Murzda has faced in his training in martial arts?
I think the biggest obstacle, it took me a long time to accept that I was a poor man. And I was a poor young man, and I was a poor man for many years. And I said I was going to have to accept that I was just going to be poor. And then when I finally got there, someone told me, you don't have to be poor. Okay? And I went to college, and I learned how to run a business. And I said, the funny thing about college and business is very much good street smarts. And the simple equation is you spend less on your business than you take in.
Right.
And whatever's left over is yours. Okay? Do the very best you can at whatever you're doing.
Right.
And you probably will be successful.
You're absolutely right. That there's a
But you had to go through a lot of stuff in business school,
right,
to prove your own beliefs like that.
A lot of people say that college is a business, and when you leave college, you're in debt. So I mean,
That depends.
It's a catch-22. It depends on
how you do it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, going to college, I had an advantage that nobody else did. I was dirt poor. So you had the Ohio Instructional Grant. You had the Pell Grant. Okay, I graduated college owing $750.
A lot less than me, sir.
Okay, and I went for 5 years. 4 years of college, and we were on the quarter system instead of the semesters. And so we had 1 quarter off. So 4 years was basically most of the way. The 5th year finished off the 4-year thing because you had a year of taking a break.
Let's see here. So you touched on Hollywood. How do you think that pop culture has affected the martial arts in the United States? Being at Hollywood, being at like Karate Kid, The Green Hornet, Kung Fu.
What's funny is when I graduated college, I sent out resumes for stunt and fight coordinator to several of the movie studios in California. And I never got a response because there were bigger names out there than me. Who's this kid in Youngstown, And I never heard back, but I always wanted to do something like that. And I think that when Bruce Lee hit the scene, Kato in the Green Hornet, and all of a sudden martial arts meant something, And then there was all of his movies, and then there was the movies from all the knockoff Lee actors, the Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee, and all those other people who tried to imitate him.
Right.
Okay. And then Chuck Norris, and you look at it and you go, these are people who fought for a reason. Okay, and they stood up, and it gave you the courage to believe that you could do it too. And like Kung Fu, what I go back to when I said I wanted to do it was the mystical aspect of it, the fact that a guy could walk through walls, be seen, not touched, seen, not heard, touched, not felt, things like that. And I really wanted to understand that. So I started to do things like learn how to sneak up on people. You know, number one, you're short, nobody sees you anyway. You know, if you're quiet, nobody knows you're coming.
Right.
You know?
So back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you've had this huge insurgence of martial arts in the United States, and it spread. You had Grandmaster Ed Parker's Kempo, you had Grandmaster Tracy's American Kempo, and they basically they spread it. It was almost like the Fred Astaire Dance Studio theme. That, you know, they franchise it, and then you got the Koreans that came, you know, that sent they sent Americans over, then the Americans sponsored the Koreans to come over, and then it spread, and you have this huge spread of martial arts in the United States. Fast forward to 2024, 2025 era. I don't know that the spread is, I think they're maintaining, but I don't think it was quite as popular as back it was in the 60s and 70s. Would you agree with that, sir?
I think it's not, because there's an illusion that you could really be hurt. And you could get hurt, but no more than playing baseball or playing football. You get hurt doing that too.
Right.
But nobody worries about getting a concussion from banging heads together.
Right.
They worry about getting punched in the head and getting a concussion. Well, learn control, learn how to fight, learn how to spar with rules, not hit quite as hard as you can, because here's the truth. I can touch you in the face and not hurt you, or I can hit you so hard that I punch through your head. It's a choice. So if I tap you, it's a choice to be kind, okay? If I hit you, it's because I have to hit you, never because I want to hit you.
And that's one of the things that that Taekwondo does prepare you for, is self-control. You have to have that self-control not to hurt
From the
somebody.
beginning to the end, that's the first thing they teach you: control, 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 control. And like sparring is to teach you control, how to manipulate somebody by getting them to move their guard, how to sidestep them and get to an open spot and score a point, how to hurt somebody with your foot in your hand above the waist. You could easily kick below the waist, but Taekwondo, they believe you should kick higher, okay? But the idea is that you're learning control. Kekpa, which is breaking, is to show you that everything that you control can be delivered uncontrolled. And you're able to break wood, concrete, ceramic tile, okay, anything with your hands and feet, even your head, your knees, your elbows, okay? To show you the real power you have, so that when you have to fight, when you are not sparring anymore, but fighting, that you have the power to break concrete, you have the power to defeat your opponent. Because anything that is broken is no longer a barrier. Right? So if you're breaking concrete is not a barrier. All things in life are barriers. Like I said, I was poor, I'll never be able to make it. Found a way not to be poor. Okay.
You're running a very successful martial arts studio in Worcester, Ohio right now.
Yeah, I also own a couple of houses that I rent, and I own the building that I have, and I rent out, I believe it's 6,000 square foot, you know, which helps me maintain my business point where there's virtually no way to shut me down.
That's fantastic, sir.
You know.
So, 49 years of martial arts, ninth Dan Grandmaster in Jidokwan Taekwondo. Who's your biggest influence?
I'm 8th Dan.
8th Dan, I'm sorry. My apologies. 8th Dan.
When I turn 67, I'll be testing for 9th Dan.
Yes, sir. Who?
My biggest influence?
Yes.
Grandmaster Chun and Grandmaster Sam Naples.
Grandmaster.
I know you've heard that name many times. It's been brought up many times on your interviews. So many people know him because he has an immense field of contacts in all forms of martial arts, and he is very well liked and loved, and he is like my older brother to me. I said I would stand by his side to the day I die. We've had arguments, but never lost friendships over the years.
That's a man that has had incredible obstacles that he's overcome as well medically. And there was a time I actually got to train under Grandmaster Naples. There was a time where he was ready to quit. He quit. He thought that he couldn't do it anymore.
He told me he was jealous that we were learning a form that he could not do because of his hips.
Because of his
and
hips.
that was the time that he said, I'm done. I'll never do this again. I said, you'll be back. And he said, no, I'm done. Throw all my trophies away, throw away my belts. I want everything that ever reminded me of competition to be gone.
But
So I kept his grand championship trophy, I kept his grand championship medal, and I kept his 7th Dan black belt.
yes.
And I
did hear
held
that.
on to it because I said, you'll be back.
And after his surgery, you returned that belt to him.
I did. He looked at me, he said, I'm going to open a school. Now I got to go buy another 7th Dan black belt. I said, what are you talking about? And I
Right.
said, you told me you were going to open up a school. I came out to talk to you. Here's your 7th Dan black belt. He went, you kept it. I said, I told you I knew you would always return because this was your one best version of yourself.
Yes, sir.
Taekwondo instructor.
Well, that just speaks volumes of your friendship, your love for one another, and like I said at the beginning of this show, when you train martial arts, you become family, and that couldn't speak more.
Kwan means family.
Yes, sir.
Right? Association family. That's it. It's an extended family, and like I said, I can sit here and talk to you, and you remember what you used to say about me.
Well, as a kid, you don't know. You watch karate. You watch Karate Kid, and
He's full of crap. That's what he said about me.
as a kid, you don't really know. My main passion when I was a kid was football, and I thought nothing was better than football. But then, later in life, I joined martial arts because my son, and actually my first call when I joined martial arts was to Grandmaster Murzda. I said, hey, I'm 30-some years old. I'm not in the best shape. I just got out of the military. My knees are bad. My shoulders are bad. Do you think this is for me? Can I do this? And what did you tell me, sir?
Absolutely.
Yep.
No excuses other than the excuses you make.
Actually, he goes, no excuse.
Right. If no excuse, you can do it.
So 49 years in martial arts. So obviously you've seen some big changes in Taekwondo.
Yes.
What is one of the biggest changes in Taekwondo that you've seen? Aside from the division, aside from...
I think changing in the sport really affected it. Okay, because when you make it about scoring points, you make it about winning in foreign competition, you forget that this is a martial art. It's not just a way of fighting, but a way of life.
Right.
Okay, be respectful, honorable, patient, persistent, indomitable spirit. The ability to just keep going all the way through no matter what gets in your way. If you can't punch your way through it, go around it. You can't go around it, go under it. Can't go under it, go over it. Nothing is a barrier that you make unless you make it a barrier in life.
Right.
And so martial arts gave me the ability to change my whole world.
So you just actually segued into my next question. My next question is, do you feel that the sport aspect of Taekwondo is affecting the traditional aspect? And you have the 9 Kwans, and if some of my viewers aren't all Taekwondo people, and I get that, but Taekwondo has 9 Kwans, and each Kwan is a little bit different. They do their forms a little bit different, and then you got the Palgay forms, and you got the Taeguk forms, and then you got the black belt forms. They're all done a little bit different. So the sport aspect is governed by the Kukiwan, which formerly World Taekwondo.
Now it is. Right. Used to be independent grandmasters ran their own tournaments and wrote the rules. Most of them, when I first started, mostly it was point style fighting for control purposes because you were still learning traditional martial art. And then they developed Olympic style or full contact fighting for those people who wanted to just be bruisers and really hit somebody. All right. And when I trained it, we were frowned upon that because we could not break the people who we were working with. You are my brother, whether you are or not, when we train. Right. So as a master instructor, if I could break your ribs, okay, does that give me the right to break your ribs just to prove I could do it? It doesn't make sense. Fighting should be when you have to fight. Right. And so we had a different mentality then. Now a lot of people, they came in with MMA and they want to see all this kind of bruise it up, twist them off, break their arm, snap their fingers. Well, that person that you broke their arm takes them 6 weeks as an athlete to recover from that. 6 weeks to a month, all right? A non-athlete, 8 weeks to sometimes 3 months, all right? You don't realize the damage you do. And when you give a guy a black eye, okay, it's only a black eye until he goes to work the next day and he's a banker. And he's going in there with a black eye and goes, hey, come on in, let me help you. What happened to you? Or the guy's, the manager of a restaurant who's supposed to be up front looking his best or her best, okay, for a woman, because anyone can have any kind of job nowadays. Right. But the point is, if they're missing teeth and they have a broken nose and they've got a black eye and they come and go, I want a belt! Yeah, you just got it, right? You just got it right there. It seems ridiculous, okay? And I have nothing against people who are champions, who fought their way to champions. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that my belief is that fighting should be reserved when you must hit somebody, when there's no other recourse but to strike. Right. Okay? So I'm not a big fan of Olympic-style fighting. That being said, I have done it. We had a discussion earlier about it,
Taekwondo, you got a difference in Taekwondo. Taekwondo, you got old school Taekwondo and you got today's Taekwondo. Today's Taekwondo is more of a dance. To me,
it looks like it.
Some people say that Taekwondo is dying. The original Taekwondo is dead. A lot of people, there's a good argument for it. I've heard both sides to it.
Well, there was one grandmaster recently who told me that there's no traditional Taekwondo tournaments anymore, but there are. You just have to look for them.
It's almost underground.
Yeah, pretty much. And the thing is, when enough people get hurt, that people stop doing it. Because even now, people don't want to fight in tournaments. You ever notice how many people don't want to fight?
A lot. They want to do poomsae, they want to do breaking, they want to do weapons
but they don't want to have an engagement where they're fighting someone else, okay? Because the possibility of being hurt is there. So
I just recently had Grandmaster Herb Perez from the 1992 Olympic Games on there, and he made a very valid point, and he said it's a clown show right now because Olympic Taekwondo is not Olympic Taekwondo when he fought. And
right.
I watched the videos, and people were getting knocked out.
It was legal. A knockout was legal. You won the fight. Right. I mean, if you were going to do Olympic style, that was good. Right. Okay. And like I said, I didn't believe in fighting full contact. Doesn't mean I haven't done it. Okay. Just means that I don't like that level of aggression when you don't need it.
I'm a big fan of the point style fighting, which is inherently different than Olympic style fighting.
Well, I remember the first time I Olympic style fought, and they said, "You've never done this before." I said, "No," but I darn near beat the guy. I lost by 1 point, and he was way bigger than me. And he said, "Well, how did you learn the Olympic style fight? Isn't Olympic style point fighting, but you hit as hard as you can?" Well, yes and no. They throw a lot of stuff as distraction that's not really clean for points sometimes, so that they can get a really good, powerful shot off that cleanly clears your clock. Right. Okay? But point stylists are looking for the one shot that clears your clock right away. So every time they hit you, they're looking for that open spot. And so it's a different mentality. Right. And I'll tell you, Olympic style fighters can be tough people,
So, do you think starting martial arts at a younger age is easier or harder, or starting at an older age is younger or harder? I have my opinion because I started in my late 30s.
Grandmaster Steppen started when he was, I think, around 40. By 44, he was a world champion in heavyweight. Okay? The guy I saw him break 5 slabs of concrete with a punch. And he broke his knuckle, and he just, so what? But I mean, if someone can do that, okay, and become a legend. I mean, Grandmaster Steppen was Taekwondo. He would go to Korea and tell the Koreans how they were doing it wrong. I mean, literally, he would. I mean, it was the funniest thing, and he was a unique individual. Everybody loved Charles Steppen, Grandmaster Steppen. And what people forgot, and at his funeral, we had to keep emphasizing that he wasn't just because so many martial artists attended his funeral that it was unbelievable, because he knew everybody. Okay, and we had to keep emphasizing that it wasn't just a good martial artist. He was a good man. He was a good person. He was a good father. You know, and so when we, as a studio, saw, and I met and had dinner with his kids on multiple occasions. You know, I've been to his house, and I knew all his children, and that was the thing we always, when we got up to talk about Mr. Steppen, we talked to them about it. We said he was a good father, he was a good person, and I said I could talk for hours and hours about what kind of a martial artist he was, but he was a great man. So, and that's kind of what. Like Grandmaster Chum was a great man, as well as a great martial artist. Mr. Naples, I think, is a great man, as well as a great martial artist.
And he started in his late, or almost 40 years old?
Mr. Steppen did, yes.
So one of the things that I found when I started that late is I had habits. I had habits that I had to break. You know, the way I moved, the way I walked, the way, the way my mentality for fighting was, you know, as an adult, I had no formal training prior to that. So I had to break all these things. So I feel that, you know, starting at a younger age, if you're able to, is more
It's very
beneficial.
helpful.
Yes.
It's very helpful. I started at 15, okay, and I had 5 years of well, not quite 5 years. It was 3 years in gymnastics prior to that, okay? And I quit gymnastics when I was 22, you know? So I had 10 years of gymnastics plus Taekwondo. And gymnastics,
incredibly helpful.
it made sure, you have no idea how strong gymnasts are.
Oh, incredibly strong.
Because they're always throwing their own body weight. No matter how much they weigh, they're throwing their body weight around all day long at a gym, all day long. Push-ups were required in there all day long. Walking on your hands all day long. Doing bar routines. You know, you'll be, one day it's just dedicated to working on a bar. Right. You know, and vault, you would run in a vault, and the distance that they used to put the vault away from yourself was from the hand to the foot. When you laid down, they put the springboard, you had to jump that distance to the vault off the springboard. For me, they put it 2 feet beyond that, because I ran so fast. And when I hit it, you would hit the springboard, fly about 10 feet to the vault, and then fly another 10 to 15 feet away from the vault after doing your trick, and land on a mat that was already 8 feet away from the vault, because you weren't expected to land any shorter than that.
Interesting.